In this video, we're going to start our new chapter on quadratic functions, but we need to review a topic that you might not have covered in algebra because of our situation last year. So we're going to review factoring, and hopefully this will help us with the rest of the chapter, which will be new Algebra 2 content. So please put your heading on here and feel free to pause the video if you need to. We're going to be factoring quadratics and trinomials today. So before we do that, I want to practice with multiplying because we need to be able to do that first, and then we can switch over. So this should be review. If not, that's why we're going to do it together. So can you write the directions for me? Write each product. Write each product in simplest ax squared plus bx plus c form. I'll explain that. So I'm going to give you two binomials. That's an expression with two terms. We're going to multiply them, and then we're going to simplify it into this form, which is standard form. So we're going to have the highest exponent first and so on. So here's example 1. Can you put x minus 2 times x minus 10? And I'm going to go a little bit slow just to make sure that all of us understand this topic. To multiply these, you can do FOIL if you've heard of FOIL, or you can just multiply the first term here by everything and then the second term by everything. That's one way that you might do it. Another way would be to make boxes. So you might have seen this in middle school. I'm going to make a 2 by 2 box, and this is why. I have 2 terms here and 2 terms here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put both of these terms on the side of the box. So I have an x here and a negative 2, minus 2. Up top, I'm going to put the x and a negative 10 here. Each box gets its own term. To get the answers, I'm going to be multiplying. So basically, I'm multiplying x times everything here. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 10 is negative 10x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times negative 10 is a positive 20. Notice I'm putting the signs in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify this by combining like terms. So my highest term is x squared. That goes first. So x squared. My second term would be if I can combine these two terms here. They both have x's. So negative 10 minus 2 is negative 12. So we have negative 12x. And then I have this plus 20 at the end. So that is multiplying. Let's try another one. We've got 2 more. I just want to make sure we're practicing. Example 2. Can you write for me? X minus 12 in parentheses times x plus 2. So in order to multiply these, yes, you can multiply x times all of these and a negative 12 times both of these, or you can use your boxes to help you out, which I like to do. So we're going to make 2 by 2 boxes. And I'm going to put these terms on the outside of the box so I know what to multiply. So I have an x here and a negative 12. I'm going to use this on the top, so I have an x and a positive 2. And now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these to get our answers inside. So this comes from multiplying these two, x squared. This comes from multiplying these two. X times a positive 2 is plus 2x. Notice I'm putting my sign. Here, this results from multiplying these two, that would be negative 12x. And multiplying these two, negative 12 times 2 is negative 24. All right, I'm ready to write my answer. So I'm going to write my x squared first. I can combine these because they're x's. So we have 2 minus 12, that's negative 10, so negative 10x. And I bring down the negative 24. In a second, we're going to go backwards. I'm going to give you one of these, and then you're going to come up with these factors. So we're going to come up with factors of 20 that add up to 12. Notice 10 and 2 add up to 12. Here we're going to come up with factors of 24 that subtract to give us 10. 12 and 2 if we subtract give us 10. So let's do one more of these. This is example 3. Can you put x plus 5 times x minus 5? There's a reason why I chose this one. So make sure you see a variety. So in order to multiply these, you can multiply again the x times both of these terms and the positive 5 times both, or use boxes to help you out to do that. So we got our 2 by 2 box. Notice that these both have x's and these both have 5's, but different signs in the middle. Something neat happens with these if you don't know. So I'm putting x plus 5 on the left and then an x minus 5 on the top. When I multiply, this comes from multiplying these two. X times x is x squared. Remember, multiplying, not adding. X times a negative 5 is negative 5x. Positive 5 times x is positive 5x. And 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Now we're going to simplify this. So we bring down the x squared. I can combine these, but I want you to notice negative 5 plus 5 is 0. They cancel out. So we don't have the middle term. And notice same number, same letter in the front, same number in the back, but different signs. That will always happen. And now we just have a minus 25 left over. So if we ever have something like this and I ask you to go backwards, you know that the last number's got to be the same. So now we're going to practice going the other way. We're going to practice factoring. This was multiplying. So I'm going to switch to the next sheet. And we're going to get into the heart of the lesson. So please just write one little sentence for me and we'll get into the examples. To factor a trinomial. Trinomial is 3 terms. That's what we're mainly focusing on. Think, put a little dash. What factors of the last term, this will make sense when we do this. What factors of the last term will add or subtract, to give the middle term, I underlined a couple of important words. We're going to be thinking of this every time we factor. All right, so I've got 8 examples, and we're going to start off with some simple algebra examples of factoring. So this is example B, and we're going to just write factor. So we've got 4 examples. Here's the first one. So I'm going to do this slow because I don't know that you've seen this before. Can you write x squared plus 10x plus 24? So we are going to factor it and make 2 sets of parentheses. Since there's an x squared in the front, I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses. I know that x times x is x squared, so I'm going to put that in the front because I know that had to be the first term. To figure out the numbers at the end, I need to do factors of 24. So on the side, I'm going to write out my factors of 24. This might help you for the first few. I want to figure out what pairs it could be. So I know that 1 and 24 give me 24. I know I can divide that by 2 and get 12, so 2 and 12 works. I can divide 24 by 3 and 8, that works. I can divide 24 by 4 and 6, that works. 24 by 5, nope, doesn't work. And this is it. So another way we can do this in the calculator, which I think is pretty neat, just a quick pause. Since I want factors of 24, I'm going to type in 24 divided by x in my y equals column. 24 divided by x. If I go to my table, if you look, I get all my factors starting with 1. So you always want to start with 1. So we've got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Anything with a decimal we don't count. And we don't want to deal with the negatives. So you start with 1 and then you get all your factors. So this is how we figure out which pair. We look at this sign. We're thinking here, what factors of the last term, so what factors will add. Since we have this plus, that means we're adding. So I'm going to put a little plus here and write add. So we want to add to the middle number. So 1 plus 24 doesn't give us 10. 2 plus 12 does not give us 10. If we subtract, but we want to add. 3 plus 8 does not add up to 10. 4 plus 6 does. So that's the pair we're going to put. So 4 and 6. Because this is adding, we need the same sign. And because we have a plus here, we're going to put these as both pluses. So I'll put a little note. We're adding, same sign. You can add this in if you want. All right, let's try another one. Number 2. We're going to do 4 of these kind. Can you write x squared minus 10x plus 24? Notice the difference. The only thing different from here and here is this plus and minus, so we're going to set it up the same way. We know that what has to go in the front is what we get multiplied to get this. So x times x is x squared, so x and x go in the front. Now, factors of 24, we already have them right here. So this time, factors of 24, we're still adding. So this means we're adding. So we say to ourselves, what factors of 24 add up to give us 10? And again, 4 and 6 give us 10. So we're going to put 4 and 6. But because we have this minus here, the signs have got to be the same. So same signs. And because we need a negative 10, they're both going to be negatives because negative 4 plus negative 6 give us negative 10. So look at the difference in the answers. Let's try a third one. Very similar. Can you write x squared plus 10x minus 24? If you look at the difference, this time we have a minus at the end. So, I wonder if that changes our numbers. So 2 sets of parentheses. We know that what goes in the front is what we get, what we use to multiply to get this. So x and x. All right. We want factors of 24. I'm going to rewrite them on the side again. You don't have to. Just want to have a clean list. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Okay. Now, because we have a subtraction sign here, we are not adding the numbers like we did up here, 4 plus 6. We need to subtract the numbers. So that's why I'm going to write subtract here. So we want to find a pair that we're subtracting to give us 10. If we subtract 1 and 24, that's 23, not 10. 12 and 2, if we subtract them, we get 10. That's the pair we want. So again, this sign is telling us what we're doing with the pair. So I'm going to put in 2 and 12 here. Doesn't matter the order. So now I need to get a positive 10. So my signs have to be different. So I'm just going to put different signs. You can choose to write this or not. Different signs. Since we want a positive 10, we say to ourselves, are we going to do 2 minus 12 or 12 minus 2 to get positive 10? So I can try my calculator. 2 minus 12 gives me negative 10. I want positive 10. 12 minus 2 gives me positive 10. That's the one I want. So my 12 needs to be positive. My 2 is negative, so minus. If you chose to write this like this instead, you don't have to write this. I'm just showing you. You could put x and x. You can put the 12 first and the 2 second, but your plus needs to stay with the 12 and your negative needs to stay with the 2. So either of these would be the correct answer. One more like this. Just want to make sure we see all of them. X squared minus 10x minus 24. Notice the difference. We still have a negative, but this time I put a negative here instead of the plus sign. So 2 sets of parentheses. X and x go in the front to give us x squared. These two numbers come from multiplying to get 24. But remember, this last sign is telling us we're subtracting. So we're going to subtract. You don't have to write this. And we want a 10 again. So the pair we subtract to get a 10 again is 12 and 2, or 2 and 12. This time, we still want different signs because that last sign tells us it's going to be different, but we want a negative 10. So if I look at my calculator really quick, I want a negative 10. 2 minus 12 gave me the negative 10. So the 2 is going to be positive this time since it's first. The 12 will be negative. So 2 is positive, 12 is negative, and there's your answer. All right, just a couple more because I want to make sure we see some more complicated ones. We're going to do some factoring of the GCF. So last set, we've got 4 more examples. I know this is kind of long, but I want to make sure we see all of them. Let's take this off. Move up to the top. All right, last set. Can you just write for me? to completely factor, last set, always factor the GCF first. Always factor the GCF first. What does GCF stand for? Greatest common factor. So we've got 4 more examples. So here's example C, and can you write factor completely? Please, please, please pause, try it on your own. If I'm going too fast, take a look at the question before you move on. So we've got 4 of these. So here's example 1. 4x squared plus 12x minus 40. We can do this one together, and then next one, pause and see if you can do it on your own. So since there's a number in the front, we're going to see if we can divide that out first. We can divide a 4 out of everything first. So what I'm going to do is take my 4 and make a big set of parentheses. If you ever have a number in the front or an extra letter, which you'll see in a minute, you take it out first. So if we divide a 4 out of here, we're just left with x squared. If we divide a 4 out of the 12, we're left with 3, so that becomes plus 3x. And if we divide a 4 out of the 40, we're left with 10, so then that becomes minus 10. Now we have an example like we had in the front. So I'm going to bring over the 4, and I'm going to create 2 sets of parentheses. I know in the front I have x and x. This last number tells me I want factors of 10. So you don't have to show this, but I will on the side. So I'm thinking of my pairs that give me 10. 1 and 10, 2 and 5. We want a pair that subtracts to give us 3. That would be 2 and 5 when we subtract. So I'm going to put a 2 and a 5 here. We're subtracting, so we want different signs to give us 3. So are we doing 2 minus 5 to get 3 or 5 minus 2 to get 3? We're doing 5 minus 2. So 5 is first, so 5 is positive, 2 is negative. There's your simplified answer. Number 2, I'll put that over here. 6x squared minus 24. Since there's a number in front of the x squared, we're going to see if we can divide that out. We can divide both of these by 6. So the first step is I'm going to take the 6, make a big set of parentheses, and I'm going to divide the 6 out to see what's left. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, so I'm left with x squared. I don't need the 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4, so I'm left with minus 4. Since we have a power of 2, we're probably not done. So I'm going to bring down the 6 and make 2 sets of parentheses. This is like the example in the front, which I'll show you quickly. This example here, when we had just x squared with a number that's a perfect square. Notice we have the same thing in the front, same number in the back, but different signs. So we have x and x here. What times itself gives you 4? Well, that's 2 and 2. And because we have a negative, we have opposite signs. It doesn't matter which one you put first. So there's your simplified factored answer. 2 more of them. Example 3. Can you write 2x cubed plus 20x squared plus 50x? So this is about as complicated as it's going to get. So since we have a number in the front, I'm going to see if I can divide everything out. So can I divide a 2 out of everything? Yes. But also notice there's an x in common. That's our GCF. So we are going to take a 2 and an x out of everything. And then in parentheses, we're going to put what's left. So if I divide a 2 and an x out of this, I'm just left with x squared. So I'm going to put an x squared first. If I divide a 2 and an x out of this, this becomes a 10. This becomes an x, so I'm left with positive 10x. If I divide a 2 out of 50, I get 25. If I divide an x out, it cancels out, so I'm just left with plus 25. Because I have an x squared, I can keep going, so I'm going to bring down the 2x and create 2 sets of parentheses. And you know we're going to spend another day on this, so please make sure you attend class. So what times itself gives you x squared? X and x. Now we need factors of 25 to put at the end, so I'll do that over here. So we've got 1 and 25, 5 times 5. I think that's it. So we want factors of 25 that add up to 10. Well, the only pair that adds up to 10 is 5 and 5, so I'm going to put 5 and 5 here. Since we're adding, we need the same sign, and because it's positive 10, they're both positives. So there's our factored answer. One more, and then we're done. Last example. Can you write 75x minus 3x cubed? Last one. Before we start, there's a number in the front, but notice that the biggest power is at the end. That's okay. So we're going to see if we can divide by 75. We can't divide this by 75, so I'll look at the smallest number. I know I can divide them both by 3, so I'm going to pull a 3 out. I also notice that there's an x in common, so I'm going to take an x out. In parentheses, I'm going to put what's left and see if I can factor. So we're going to divide this by 3 and x, so this 75 becomes a 25 when you divide. The x cancels out, so we're just left with 25. Over here, if I divide the 3 out, I'm left with a 1. And if I divide an x out of here, I'm left with x squared. So I'm going to bring down the minus x squared. This is very similar to this one here, except for just notice it's reversed. So I'm going to bring down the 3x, 2 sets of parentheses. I'm not putting x and x in the front this time. I'm putting the number in the front. What times the self gives you 25? 5 and 5. What times the self gives you x squared? X and x. And same thing, we do the different signs like we did above. So this would be your factored answer. So if the number is in the front, the number stays in the front.